You've never looked at a price tag. Not once. Not the yacht, not the watch, not the $12,000 bottle you didn't even finish. And in about 90 seconds of your life, you're going to lose all of it. Let's rewind. You're the only son of Marcus Vale oil, not a few gas stations oil. Pipelines across 3 states oil, the kind of money that has its own accountants who have their own accountants. You grew up with a chef who knew your allergies, a driver who knew your schedule, and a last name that opened every door before you touched the handle. Your trust fund hit $50 million the day you turned 21. You didn't earn a cent of it. You never had to. So you lived. Breakfast in Monaco, dinner in Dubai. A garage that looked like a car showroom. Friends, dozens. Marco, Theo, the whole crew. Always around, always laughing, always ready when you were buying. A girlfriend, Sienna, who loved the life and swore she loved you. You had a phone that never stopped buzzing. You were the sun, and everyone you knew orbited you. And here's the thing nobody tells you when you're on top. You can't tell the difference between people who love you and people who love the warmth. Not yet, but you will. You want to know the truth? You thought it would last forever. Everyone at the top thinks that. You looked at people who worried about money the way you'd look at people worried about the weather on some other planet. It had nothing to do with you. And that right there was the whole problem. Because it was about to have everything to do with you. Then your father died. And suddenly the 50 million wasn't an allowance anymore. It was yours to run. You didn't know a balance sheet from a bar tab, but you had a room full of people telling you that you were a genius. And one of them, your best friend Theo, had an opportunity. A private energy deal. Guaranteed, he said. His guy was connected. Everyone getting in was already rich. All you had to do was move fast and go big. So you went big. You put in the 50 million, and then you did the thing that turns rich people into cautionary tales. You borrowed against it to put in even more. Leverage. $120 million riding on one deal you never actually read. You signed the papers on the yacht. You toasted with the $12,000 bottle. Remember that bottle? 6 weeks later, the deal was a fraud. Theo's connected guy was already on a plane to somewhere without extradition. The fund was worth nothing, and leverage doesn't care about your feelings. When the value crashed, the loan didn't. The bank wanted its $70 million back. Now. They took the yacht. They took the cars. They took the house your father built, and the repo men were polite about it, which was somehow worse. They handed you a garbage bag for your own clothes and told you which rooms you weren't allowed back into. In the house you grew up in. So you stood on the lawn you learned to walk on, holding a garbage bag, watching a stranger change the locks. You went from $50 million to a number with a minus sign in front of it, in the time it takes most people to plan a vacation. And your phone went quiet. Here's where it gets cruel. Marco stopped answering. Theo blocked you. And Sienna? Sienna left a note. 3 words. I can't, sorry. You threw a party for 100 people 6 months ago. Now you couldn't get a single one to pick up the phone. Turns out the crowd was never yours. It belonged to the money. And the money was gone. And now, the part nobody warned you about. You had $50 million and 0 survival skills. You'd never cooked a meal, never made a budget, never worked a shift in your life. Your resume was 1 line long. Son of. You went from lobster thermidor and dry-aged steak to instant noodles in a microwave Hot Pocket. 39 cents a pack? And you did the math on which brand was cheaper because, for the first time in your life, 39 cents mattered. You tried to get a job, any job, and you found out that son of Marcus Vale is worth exactly nothing on an application. You couldn't work a register. You'd never made a schedule in your life. A 20-year-old shift manager passed on hiring you, kindly, and you thanked him, because you'd already learned to be grateful that fast. You taught yourself to cook off a cracked phone that was 2 months from being shut off, and you burned the first 4 things you made. And one afternoon, in the cheapest grocery store in town, you turned a corner, and there was Marco. Your old friend Marco. He looked at your basket, store-brand bread and instant noodles. He said, "Hey man, good to see you," in the voice you use on someone you're praying won't ask you for anything. Then he was gone. And you have never felt smaller in your life. You moved into a studio the size of your old closet. You sold your last real watch to make rent and cried in a laundromat because you didn't know how to work the machine. One night, you counted the money to your name, $186. From $50 million to $186 and a stranger to your own life. That's the bottom. Most stories end here. Yours doesn't. Something changes when you've got nothing left to protect. You stopped waiting for the old life to come back. You got quiet. You got honest. And for the first time, the phone wasn't buzzing. Nobody needed you. There was nobody left to perform for. And you had to sit in a room with just yourself. You didn't like the guy you found in there, so you decided to become someone else. And you realized the money was never the problem. You were. You'd had the greatest financial head start on earth, and you blew it because you treated money like weather, something that just happens to you, so you flipped it. For the first time, you decided to earn $1 and keep it. And your whole relationship with money flipped inside out. Money used to be the thing you spent to feel like somebody. Now it was the thing you kept to stay free. Every dollar you didn't spend was a dollar nobody could ever take from you again. Saving stopped feeling like going without. It started feeling like armor. You didn't start a fund. You didn't raise capital. You bought a used truck for $800, and you started hauling other people's trash. Junk removal, old couches, broken fridges, garage clearouts. The most un-Instagrammable business on the planet. Your first client paid you $75, and you were proud of it. Prouder than you ever were of the $50 million because this one was yours. You worked 6 days a week. You saved almost every dollar. You slept in that truck more than once. There were mornings the truck wouldn't start, and you pushed it down the street to jump it. There were nights you smelled like other people's garbage and ate dry cereal for dinner because it was cheaper than anything you'd cook. Nobody was clapping, nobody was watching, and that turned out to be the whole point. You weren't performing wealth anymore. You were building it. Quietly. One $75 job at a time. One truck became two. Two became a small crew. In 18 months, that ugly little trash business was clearing $12,000 a month in profit. Real profit. Boring profit. The kind that shows up whether or not anyone likes you. And you learned the lesson the hard way, twice over. Cash flow beats status. And the businesses nobody brags about are the ones that quietly make people rich. Then you got the offer. A bigger company wanted to buy your roots. $400,000. Cash. And here's how you know you'd actually changed. You didn't blow it. You didn't buy a car. You took every dollar and you bet again. But not like before. This time you did the homework. You found a small tech startup run by a broke 23-year-old with the exact hunger you used to have handed to you for free. You didn't gamble. You invested. Eyes open, downside understood. Everything you built on one calculated risk. The startup worked, not overnight. 3 grinding years of it, but it worked. And the day it sold, your cut came to $62 million. More than your father ever handed you. Except this time, you knew where every dollar came from because you bled for all of them. You were rich again, and it felt completely different. And here's the part that stays with you. When the news got out, the phone started buzzing again. Marco, Theo, even Sienna. So proud of you. Always knew you'd make it. The exact same warmth, back like nothing happened, and you smiled, and you let it ring. Not out of revenge. You just finally understood. Those people were never yours to lose. The ones who mattered were the crew who threw couches into a truck with you at 6 a.m. for $75. And you'd rather have 5 of them than 100 of the others. The night the startup sold, you didn't call a yacht club, you called your junk crew. You took them to the same cheap diner where you all used to split one plate of fries, and this time you bought the whole menu. And not one of them treated you any differently, because to them, you were never the 50 million, and you were never the 62 million. You were just the guy who showed up at 6 in the morning and lifted his end of the couch. So what actually changed? Not the number. The number came back. What changed is that the first fortune was handed to you, and it owned you. The second one, you built. And you own it. Money you're given teaches you nothing. Money you build teaches you everything. That's the whole difference between the guy who lost it all and